My name is Daniel Carr. I'm 44 years old, and for most of my life, I was the dependable one. The quiet son who didn't cause trouble, who paid his own way, who never asked for help, not even when I needed it. I worked in IT security for nearly 20 years, lived modestly, drove used cars and skipped vacations. To my family, I was just boring old Dan. What they never knew was that while they were laughing at my simplicity, I was building something none of them ever saw coming. It started unraveling the day my younger sister, Claire, accidentally opened an old document on my cloud drive while using my laptop. It was a brokerage account summary, not the most recent, but enough to make her freeze. I was in the kitchen when she said, "Dan, is this real?" I walked in and saw the screen. My heart didn't race. I didn't panic. I just nodded. What was there to explain? Yes, it was real. No, it wasn't a mistake. I had quietly grown my net worth to $22 million through investments, compounding, and relentless discipline, and I had told no one. The fallout was instant. She told my parents. That evening, I got a call from my dad. He wasn't angry at first. He was hurt. "You let us struggle, knowing you had all this." The words hit me harder than I expected. Because I hadn't let them struggle, I paid for repairs on their roof. I covered Claire's car payments for a year. I helped my mother with groceries every month, without fail. But I did it all quietly, and apparently, quietly wasn't enough. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I just listened as they talked themselves into resentment. That's the thing about people who feel entitled to you. They will rewrite history to suit their disappointment. To them, my greatest sin wasn't lying. It was not including them in what I built. And when people like that realize they're no longer the center of your universe, they turn cruel. That night, I sat on the edge of my bed and stared into the dark. I wasn't ashamed. I wasn't afraid. But I was done. Done with trying to prove I was good by giving parts of myself away. Done with being the silent lifeline for people who only noticed me when I was useful. They didn't ask how I built what I had. They asked why they weren't part of it. And in that moment, I made a decision I should have made years ago, not to cut them off, not to punish them, but to stop pretending that loyalty meant submission. From that day forward, I would move differently. Not with rage, but with intention. The next morning, the house was still, but my mind wasn't. I kept replaying the tone in my father's voice. Not confusion, not concern, but accusation. Like I had betrayed them by succeeding in silence. That's when I finally understood something I hadn't let myself admit before. Their version of love came with conditions, unspoken rules. If I wanted their warmth, I had to stay small, modest, accessible. Anything else and I was being selfish. Growing up, I was taught to be the steady one, the provider, the one who could be leaned on without question. When Claire had her third breakup and no rent money, I stepped in. When Dad lost his job, I sent cash without asking for it back. When Mom was too proud to admit she couldn't afford her medication, I picked up the bill and said it was a refund. I did all of it without making a scene. And I did it because I wanted to. But now, none of it counted. Because I hadn't made them feel included in my success. That kind of betrayal isn't loud. It doesn't come with slammed doors or curse words. It comes with quiet revelations. I saw, with sharp clarity, how little they truly saw me. I wasn't Daniel, the man who'd worked 70-hour weeks for years. I was just the guy who could be counted on to come through, to help, to give. The moment I became more than that, more independent, more private, more wealthy, I became a threat to their dynamic. I had to ask myself a hard question. Had I ever truly belonged in this family, or had I just played the role they needed me to play? That thought sat heavy on my chest, because I'd always believed that loyalty meant endurance, that love meant bending until you snap. But now I was starting to see that maybe the real act of love was finally telling the truth, even if they didn't want to hear it. So I stopped responding right away. I didn't rush to call back. I didn't try to explain. I let the silence stretch, like a muscle I was finally learning to use. And it taught me something. When you stop chasing people who only love the version of you that serves them, they fall away, not because you pushed them, but because they were never truly standing with you in the first place. That week I wrote a simple sentence in my journal. You don't owe people access to your peace just because they share your blood. And something in me shifted, not out of bitterness, but out of wisdom I had earned the hard way. I didn't disappear overnight. I didn't block numbers or write angry messages. I just stopped offering myself on a platter. When they reached out, I replied with calm, short responses. I didn't ask how they were doing, didn't offer to help, didn't jump in to solve anything. And it shook them. They weren't used to boundaries. They were used to open doors, open hands. The version of me that bent was gone. And they were left staring at a man who had finally learned how to stand still. Claire messaged me first, playing it soft. I miss talking to you. I feel like we've grown apart. I stared at that text for a long time. Not because I didn't miss her. I did. But I missed the version of her that wasn't shaped by expectation and silent competition. So I replied, maybe we have. And maybe space isn't the worst thing right now. She didn't respond. Because there's nothing more uncomfortable than being faced with the truth, especially when it's calm. Behind the scenes, I was building my distance like a structure. Quiet, solid, intentional. I called my attorney, adjusted my estate plan, removed the names that once filled my emergency contacts and trust beneficiaries. I added organizations I cared about, mentors who'd poured into me, and one old high school teacher who gave me a used laptop when I couldn't afford one. People who had no idea what I had, but had shown me love without expectation. It wasn't about revenge, it was about design. For too long I had let guilt shape my generosity. I had told myself that I was doing the right thing, even when it left me emotionally exhausted. But now I was giving without guilt. Protecting without apology. I wasn't just distancing, I was rebuilding. This time, on my terms. I watched from a quiet place as the dynamics started to shift. My parents called less, not because they were at peace, but because they were unsure how to reach me without pulling the old levers, and those levers no longer worked. No amount of guilt, sarcasm, or nostalgia could undo what they had revealed when they found out about my wealth. Their silence was different now, not comfortable, not respectful, just unarmed. There's a certain kind of power in doing nothing, in letting people sit with what they've lost, not because you took it, but because they misused it. That's where I was. Not angry, not cold, just aware. And with that awareness came a peace I hadn't felt in years. I wasn't planning revenge. I was finally learning how to protect what I'd built, starting with myself. It was subtle at first. The shift in how they approached me. My father stopped calling altogether. My mother would text, pretending like nothing had happened, sending photos of the dog or vague "hope you're doing well" messages. I knew what it was, a test, a probe, to see if the wall I had quietly built would come down with just a few soft knocks. But I didn't take the bait. I didn't ghost them. I didn't grovel. I simply matched their energy with measured silence. That was the new language now, clarity without confrontation. Then came the intervention attempt. Claire invited me to what she called a casual dinner. I went, knowing full well it wouldn't be casual. I wore a dark sweater, clean jeans, and a calm expression. I sat at the table while she danced around the issue, And finally, Dad, never one for subtlety, leaned in and said, "We just want to understand why you shut us out." I looked him in the eye and replied, "Because I finally realized how loud your silence was all those years. I needed something, and said nothing." The room went quiet. No one expected me to speak so directly, so plainly. For years I had been the one who smoothed things over. Now I was speaking truths I no longer felt the need to dress up. Mom's eyes welled up with tears, but she didn't say a word, and for once, that silence didn't feel like control. It felt like defeat. Not because I won anything, but because I stopped playing their game. After that night, things unraveled quickly. The family dynamic had depended on one thing: my compliance. I was the glue, the buffer, the emergency fund. And when that disappeared, so did their sense of order. My dad blamed Claire. Claire blamed my dad. Old grudges surfaced. Long-forgotten arguments were resurrected. They began to fracture under the pressure of losing what they thought was guaranteed. And all the while, I watched from a place of quiet distance. I didn't gloat. I didn't lecture. I didn't remind them of the times I saved them. I just lived my life calmly, intentionally, privately. The shift in power wasn't something I forced. It was something they handed me the moment they showed me who they really were when the money came to light. I didn't need to punish them. I just stopped participating. What they didn't understand is that people don't change when you yell at them or shame them. They change when the benefits of mistreating you disappear. That's what happened. Slowly, their access faded. Their opinions no longer mattered. Their drama no longer touched me. And that's when I knew I hadn't just taken control, I had taken myself back. It was around the holidays when I realized something had truly shifted. I used to be the one who booked flights, sent gifts, arranged dinners, kept the whole show running. That year, no one reached out to coordinate. No one asked what time I'd be arriving. They knew I wouldn't, and I knew they didn't want to face what the silence revealed about them. Without me holding everything together, there was nothing left but a hollow tradition, and they were finally starting to feel it. Claire sent one last message before the new year. "I don't understand how you can be okay watching your family fall apart." It sat in my inbox for days. Then, one quiet morning, I responded, "You think I'm watching it fall apart? I'm not. I'm just watching it stop being held together by someone it never valued." I didn't hear back, and I didn't need to. There was no rage in my words, just truth. And truth, when it's been ignored long enough, feels like punishment to those who relied on your silence. They began turning on each other, blaming, whispering, fighting over who had said what, who had pushed me away. But I had no interest in being the topic or the referee. I had stepped out of the arena, let them wrestle with their own shadows. That was their war now, not mine. My war had always been internal, trying to justify love that felt one-sided, trying to earn respect I never should have had to beg for. That war was over, and I had won it by walking away. The irony is, I was still giving, just not to them. Quiet donations to shelters, a scholarship fund at my old community college, a Christmas surprise for the janitor in my building, who always worked late without complaint. These were people who never expected anything from me, and maybe that's why I gave so freely. There was no manipulation, no emotional strings, just the simple joy of seeing someone and being seen in return. I never wanted revenge. What I wanted was dignity, and that's something you can't beg for. You have to claim it, and once you do, everything changes. You stop waiting for apologies, you stop keeping score, you stop hoping they'll become the people you tried so hard to believe they were. And in that space, you finally start becoming who you were always meant to be. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't grieving. I was free. free from the role I never agreed to play, free from the weight of proving my love with sacrifice, free from needing anyone's understanding to validate my choices. And in that freedom, I found something they never gave me: peace. It's been over a year now since I walked away, not from my family, but from the version of myself who believed love had to be earned through quiet suffering. And I can tell you this: peace doesn't come with applause. It comes with stillness. It comes when the phone doesn't ring, and you realize you're okay. Not just surviving without them, but actually living, breathing easier, smiling for no reason, sleeping better. That's how I knew I'd done the right thing. These days, I still live in the same modest home. I still make my own coffee, mow my own lawn, and file my taxes myself. The wealth didn't change who I am. It just revealed who others were. And when people show you that their love is a transaction, believe them. Don't argue. Don't plead. Just quietly step out of the store. You'll be amazed how good it feels to stop selling pieces of yourself for crumbs. My estate plan is no longer a secret. It's public because I want people to know what I stand for. I've built a legacy not around family names, but around values. I've funded youth programs for kids like I once was: curious, overlooked, driven. I've helped a single dad go back to school. I've supported a non-profit run by an old friend who once lent me $20 when I had nothing. I give with precision now, not out of guilt, but out of joy. Sometimes I wonder what they say about me now. Maybe they still call me cold. Maybe they still tell their version of the story, how I turned my back after getting rich. But the truth is, I didn't turn my back. I just turned toward something else, my own self-respect. And if that looks like abandonment to them, they were never really looking at me in the first place. I don't hate them. I've just stopped waiting for them to love me in a way that feels like love. Forgiveness came when I realized they weren't capable of giving what I needed, and healing came when I stopped asking them to. So, here I am, a man at peace, not because I won some dramatic battle, but because I walked away from a silent war that had gone on too long. No more convincing, no more rescuing, no more dimming the light to make others comfortable. This is my story. Quiet, steady, full of grace. And in the end, that's the real wealth.